Calling our meeting to order at 9 a.m. This time we'll have the opening invocation and pledge of allegiance by Chaplain Frank Stevens.
Stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, you called us to live together under the rule of law and under the leadership of government. We look to your word in the Bible that tells us that request prayers, the intercessions, thanksgiving be made for everyone, for all those in authority over us, that we may live peacefully and quiet lives in godliness and holiness. And you conclude that with, this is good and pleases God, our Savior. So we stand on your promise that you will guide all those in leadership positions. And so, Father, we pray for our city leaders, for wisdom, for discernment as they conduct city business. We join together in prayer for protection and safety for our police and fire personnel, our city administrative staff, all city employees as they go about their duties on behalf of the citizens of Lynn Haven. Surround your government leaders with good and wise advisors. We pray the grace of Proverbs 19:20 for them. Listen to advice, accept instruction, and in the end you will be wise. We pray this in the name of Christ, our everlasting King. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we have public commentary. You can wait until that time. Thank you. Additional public commentary? All right. If not, we'll move on to our reports. Proclamation for American Red Cross Month. Whereas, during American Red Cross Month in March, we celebrate the humanitarian spirit of Lynn Haven and reaffirm our commitment to help ensure no one faces a crisis alone. And whereas, the Red Cross mission statement reads, the American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. And whereas caring for one another is at the heart of our community, exemplified by the people of Lynn Haven, whose simple acts of kindness through the Red Cross provide help and hope in people's most difficult moments. Continuing the life-saving legacy of Clara Barton, who founded the organization more than 140 years ago to prevent and alleviate human suffering. 4 Bay County residents, Mr. Lewis Howell, Mrs. Mary Sherwin, Mr. Oakley Andrews, and Mr. J.B. Brennenberg saw the need for Red Cross presence at Bay County, so a chapter was formed. And whereas every day since 1917, these ordinary individuals through the American Red Cross of Northwest Florida lend a helping hand to make an extraordinary difference for neighbors in need, helping thousands of people, whether it's providing emergency shelter, food, and comfort for families displaced by home fires and other disasters, donating life-saving blood for cancer patients, accident victims, and people with sickle cell disease and other life-threatening conditions, supporting military members and veterans, along with their families and caregivers, through the unique challenges of service, using vital skills like first aid and CPR to help others survive medical emergencies, or delivering international humanitarian aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by crisis around the world. And whereas their support of volunteerism and generous donations are critical to our community's resilience, we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who fulfill Clara Barton's noble words. You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it, and ask everyone to join in this commitment. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jesse Nelson, and the City Commission, by virtue of the authority invested in us by the laws of Lynn Haven and Bay County, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2023, American Red Cross Month, and encourage all residents to reach out and support its humanitarian mission. And witness whereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 14th day of March in the year of our Lord 2023. Is there someone from the Red Cross to receive this? All right, we'll make sure this gets to them. I'd like to share the mayor's report and keep things brief because I don't want to stumble over our other commissioners and city managers. A lot of things have happened in these past couple of weeks since we last met. It was real exciting to be out at the sports complex a couple Saturdays ago for the grand opening of our sports complex, and to show how big and significant that was. When I actually was trying to prepare my speech, I Googled the night before grand opening. And of all the searches, I just put in grand opening, not Lynn Haven, just grand opening, the phrase, like what does that phrase mean? And Lynn Haven popped up about 10 times on that page. And so that was something that was very unique for our community to have a grand opening, and very exciting. And I know everyone that's talked with me about it has been excited and thrilled and just looks forward to the additional grand openings we're going to have out there, and then I guess the grand opening as it relates to the pickleball court. So that was an exciting day, exciting time. I know my kids loved all the free stuff that was out there, so that was really enjoyable, especially the free popcorn. I think Kerry went back about 3 times. The guy recognized and wanted to, like, hey, didn't you already come up here? But his dad was with him, so I guess he gave him some more. So, but no, it was great. Everyone had a fun time, and some people actually asked if we were going to keep some of that stuff out there, like the rock climbing wall and the bull ride. You know, they asked if we were going to keep some of that. So I told them to come to our next event, and we may have some of that back out there. So great day. Thank you to city managers, staff, contractors, just everyone that really made that day come to pass. And so we know it's been a long time coming, and so really glad that we're able to experience that, and certainly, you know, happy that I was able to be a part of it. Also, I've had a chance to go out with other mayors from the area, not just Bay County, but mayor from Fort Walton, mayor from Caryville, all came over to Tyndall Air Force Base, and we spent time with Colonel Watkins and his command staff to just get a tour and an update out at Tyndall. And so certainly they've made a lot of progress out there. There's a long way to go. And so it was just really neat to get the different updates, and wow, you know, I thought we certainly had a lot of devastation here in Lynn Haven and throughout Bay County, but to hear, I think that they've torn down like 250 buildings out there, and I think they're building like another 100 plus, and so I think it's like $5 billion is estimated to going into the rebuild there. And so, you know, just thankful that, you know, we've had advocates from our area, like Tom Neubauer and others who go to Washington, and of course, Congressman Dunn, who are advocating for the rebuilding of Tyndall, which is a vital part of our community. I think Greg Brucknicki from Panama City quoted that maybe about 30 to 40% of Bay County's economy was based on Tyndall. And so, you know, that certainly is a very vital part of our community. It's going to be several years before they finish the rebuild. I think about 2027 is when they anticipated that they might actually finish the last building. And so it was, but again, it was a great experience. Look forward to continuing communications with Colonel Watkins. Certainly thank him and his office for opening the doors to the community to come out and to be a part of Tyndall. I think this is maybe my 3rd or 4th time going out to Tyndall since he's been there for some type of event or activity that they're having that they want us as the community to be a part of as well. I think city manager is part of the honorary command. I couldn't tell them which one you were a part of, but you know, but I thank them for the opportunity for us to engage in that way as well. Also, been invited, as well as the other mayors, out to a trip with the colonel and his command staff out to Dallas, Texas, to see how they actually build the F-35s. And so we'll see, you know, if it's in my budget to go out there or not. I have to get the city manager on that. So if we're able to travel, but the F-35s are supposed to be coming in within the next 6 months or so. I think we're supposed to get about 75 of them total. They're actually working on an air show coming up this summer at Panama City Beach. So just a lot of exciting things that are happening out at Tyndall, and very thankful for the men and women that serve us. And part of that group was actually, there was I think it was a staff sergeant there that actually lives in Lynn Haven, that was part of our tour group as well, and giving us some of the briefs that we received while we were there. And so there was a couple of, big things that happened over this time. Of course, had a chance to go over to Tallahassee last week and advocate with Representative Griffiths, Senator Trumbull, regarding some appropriations that we're hoping to receive for our stormwater, for our public utilities. Hopefully they can find some funds to help us with our roads and stuff as well. But looking forward to that. And even this morning received a grant notice from our Florida League of Mayors and was able to forward that to city manager from President Biden's office of some different appropriations that they're making available for various areas. Some of it applies to us maybe, but city manager and her staff are going to cull through that to see what's applicable to us that we can apply for. And so certainly appreciate the fact that whatever grants are out there that are applicable to us, we're doing our best to try to apply for those to make sure that we can alleviate as much tax priority here as possible for our citizens. And so regarding citizens' concerns, of course, I'm still working through this AT&T situation. Did bring it up at the last meeting. And the scenario there, and some of you may have heard from this resident as well, and city manager and I have been working through this, is that the easement was really messed up there. And so just trying to get AT&T to come back and just sort of situate things maybe the way they were before, or maybe move some things around so that it can be a little more conducive for the resident in her community that's there. And so still sort of working through that. And so hopefully we get some good feedback on that as well. Although we had a lot of rain over the weekend, I'm not sure, I haven't had a chance to follow up with Mr. Lightfoot, but my phone didn't ring yesterday. I don't know if anybody's phones rang yesterday. And so I think that still is a testament. Certainly our stormwater is not completely fixed in the city of Lynn Haven. I think, as we've mentioned before, because where we're situated to the bay, it may never be completely fixed. However, I think it's good after a big storm event like that, when the phones don't ring off the hook like they did a couple of years ago, that shows that we are making great improvements in the area. I did follow up with some other citizens, and Mr. Lightfoot got the information to me regarding Bel Air and Bradley Circle, sort of where they are on our time frame, and letting them know that they are part of our priority over the next year or so, as we receive those grant funds now, and as we're making application with those to make sure that we can help alleviate those areas too. So those have been some of the primary citizens' concerns, other than some of the just things you see about when you're in Publix or Winn-Dixie, you see someone that want to talk about some different things. So thank you everyone again just for what you're doing for the city of Lynn Haven. Thank you, City Commission, for what you're doing and serving our residents. Thank you, City Manager and your staff. I know there's a lot on you all's plate with trying to coordinate programming as well as coordinate building. And so I think we're still doing a superb job. I consistently get great remarks about the city of Lynn Haven and how we're a stellar community and a shining light in Bay County, and in some ways how we're leading the way of how the rebuild should go. And I will also say we should be very thankful for the consistency of our city manager and her work. Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge, for the fight that you had for FEMA funds. And I bring this up, although it's like probably old news, I bring that up because I'm still meeting with other mayors who still haven't received funds, right? Still meeting with other mayors who still haven't received, applications of being approved to move forward with something. So there are still other cities in Bay County who haven't broke ground on several things. And so for us to be able to say, hey, we're getting ready to reopen our gymnasium within the next month or so, and for other communities to now just be breaking ground on those same type of facilities, that their communities are still suffering and don't have those opportunities like we do. So I don't think we need to take it for granted, the work that has been put in working with FEMA and in working with Congressman Dunn's office. When I came on, we were sort of in the middle of it. So Commissioner Aldridge passed the baton to me, and I sort of followed up and having those weekly meetings and trying to pin the tail on the donkey because it kept going in circles like, hey, you got to slow down. We got to see where this thing is going. So I just think there's nothing that we need to take for granted, that we're getting ready to reopen City Hall pretty soon. I know there's some delays there, but that's opening soon. Again, the ball fields are opening soon. And so for our community to be nearly back to where it was and even better than what it was prior to Hurricane Michael is something I think we need to all be very thankful for. And certainly, thank our staff and city manager and all of those who had a part in getting us to this point. Because again, there's churches, communities, even homes. Of course, we know people in our community who are still literally homeless in regards to not living in their dwelling. And so we're very thankful for where we are in that advancement with that. And with that, that's my report. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Always fun to follow you and your report. You always leave me a lot to talk about.
You're welcome.
No, you're right. You're right, Mayor. The city has come a long way over these last couple of years, and I'm glad that fight is over, that we're not having to fight those 3-letter organizations or 4-letter for FEMA organizations for cash anymore. So I'm just thankful for all the hard work as well that everyone's put in. It has been an interesting couple of weeks, busy couple of weeks. No bad news per se, as the mayor stated. When you're in this position, those that are running for a commission seat, the weather can dictate whether you're having a good day or not. And you hate to see a lot of rain on the radar when you're in this position because you're looking at your emails and checking your phone, making sure that, people aren't calling you. But we didn't have that issue this past weekend, so I thought that was great. We're making strides in that area. As you said, we also had a good time in Tallahassee, meeting with Representative Trumbull, or Senator Trumbull now, and Representative Griffiths. And of course, we're over there not because we're just wanting to go over there and hang out in Tallahassee for the day, but we're over there fighting for the city of Lynn Haven. We're fighting for funds, we're fighting for some legislative money that can be appropriated our way. And we felt it important to go over there and have some face time with our representatives. So just know, citizens, that this group is fighting for you in Tallahassee best we can. So other than that, I will take Pat's tagline away from him, so he will have nothing to talk about. I want to thank all of the employees and our first responders. They come out and do good work every day. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. And on that note, I think some of you also received the community action alert from Florida League of Cities. Sometimes that goes into it's not called a junk folder. I think it's called other folder is what it's called. And so it might have gone into there. I bring that up because one of the bills that we encouraged our reps to oppose, the sovereign immunity bill, was there. And that's going to go before committee tomorrow. So if you have time, email the committee, email the chairman, email someone and just say, hey, please vote no on this sovereign immunity bill. And what it does is it takes us from 200 to 300,000 up to, I think it's like 2.5 million to 5 million that we can be sued for here at the local level. If someone has some type of incident or something like that. So that's what we're asking. That's what we're pushing to oppose. Now, it's not that a person can't get $5 million. They would just have to go through legislative procedures and actually go to the state legislature to do that. So when you talk about home rule, what it's really doing is the state is just pushing that back to us and say, we don't want them to come to Tallahassee asking for it. Y'all just take care of it there on the local level. But it puts us in a bind. A $5 million lawsuit, that's 10% of our budget. And so that can, you get several of those in that, you become bankrupt, as a city. And so we couldn't afford an attorney to handle all of those. So just check your emails. And if you could just try to send out an email, to let them know that we oppose that bill. Commissioner Perno.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Holder.
You're welcome, Commissioner Perno.
You're going to make me not miss you if you keep that.
Yeah, you're going to miss me.
I too, I enjoyed our trip to Tallahassee, even though the parking garage was full and had to go to another one. And I forgot about the hills in Tallahassee. You had to walk uphill, and it can be a little strenuous when you're hustling to get to the Capitol. So, and then getting around the Capitol was a sight. But boy, being at the sports complex for the grand reopening was really amazing, and it was if you've watched over the last 4 years, you want to talk about being better. we didn't have a grand opening, and then we had a small one at King Griffin, and it got a little bigger, and now this one was just brought up. It just felt like, and Dan Russell was there to throw out the first ball, and he always said, and I believed it when I ran before, is we wanted to see the kids get back on the fields and play ball again, and it was good to see that in that many numbers.
Yeah.
So a big thank you to the staff for pulling everything off, because I know that people who don't normally wear those hats are out there helping, and then they're doing different stuff during the week here for the city. Yes, I want to thank our first responders and all our city employees and our staff, as I always do, and I want to thank the people here in the chairs who care enough to come to our meetings. We have a very important election coming up, and not so much for elected officials, but for our changes to our charter, and the stuff that we're gonna dictate many years ahead in this election. So, just a big thank you to everybody, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Yes, so my next time with the commissioners on the 25th of March at Slim Chickens at 11 o'clock. Opportunity for residents if they want to come out and talk to me about anything, concerns or ideas, or just want to chat about things going on in the city. Encourage you to come out. I know it's already been touched on, the sports park grand opening. It was a blast. One of the things I just want to point out that was brought up was the concession stand, which was done with self-help from facilities. They did a phenomenal job on that. It looks awesome. Still a little bit more work to do, but I did get a grand tour of the facility by the city manager, and it looks phenomenal. It's going to be great when it's done. I'm looking forward to the pickleball courts, so I'm looking forward to being the first Lynn Haven pickleball champion.
You got the reach.
I know the mayor mentioned about the tour with the F-35s at Dallas, Fort Worth. I've actually been to that facility 2 times. I've been there early in my career watching them when they used to make the F-16s there, and then I got one when I was stationed in Abilene, Texas. I got to have a tour of the F-35 facility, so if you get an opportunity to go, it's a big eye-opener. And then I took the opportunity, since we were going to Tallahassee, I actually got up extra early and wanted to hit some of the committee meetings just to kind of get an idea of what happens at some of those committees. I won't bore you with everything that I saw, but one of the things that was discussed was pushing to open schools later after 8 a.m. They talked about how sleep is important for kids in order for them to effectively learn, and how their brains, even if they're sleeping, they don't normally shut off until 11 o'clock at night and things like that. But the other one that really touched me was about dispatchers. There was a lady, or 2 ladies that got up there and talked about, what is a day like as a dispatcher, and I never realized what they go through. They're usually the first ones that are talking to a victim or somebody that needs help, and it can be very chaotic at times. There are times there's a lot of noise in the background, so they have to kind of key in on certain things and try to figure out everything that's going on. There are times they have disconnects and trying to get back to the individual. But the thing I never realized was the stress that they go through after it's all said and done. And what this bill was about was for them to get care for PTSD, because first responders, they're not classified as first responders. And I'm not quite really sure why, but I think they should be because of what they go through. The ladies that got up there, they also talked about how even after it's all said and done, there are times that they have to take that home with them. They have nightmares about it. There's a lot involved in a lot that they do. And I remember when we went to legislative delegation meeting, I don't know if you remember, there was an individual that went up and talked about first responders. And I didn't really think much of it then, but when I listened to this, it just showed me how much I took them for granted. So whenever we thank our first responders, think of the dispatchers also. To me, I classify them as first responders also. Even though they're not out in the field, they play a vital role in situations to try to have a successful outcome. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, and they have to deal with that for the rest of their life. So what they do is very, very important, and I appreciate what they do. So I probably should have started with that because I was kind of somber, but that's all I have.
I agree with you, Commissioner Warwick, because the seconds there on the phone are life-saving minutes in the field.
Yeah.
You know, and especially our 911 responders and what they have to, what they live with from the outcomes.
Well, thank you for that. I do know my time as a chaplain with Panama City Police Department. There have been times where I've been designated to just go and pray for the dispatchers, the communications, because of a call they might have just received, because they are the first ones, you know, to get those calls, especially when it's some type of trauma that's involved, you know, vehicular accident and things. They're the first ones to get those. And so we've, as chaplains, have gone by to pray with them specifically, not just officers, but to pray with them because they're fielding, you know, all of those calls that come in, you know, every day. And so we do need to consider them as well. So thank you for that. Commissioner Vandegrift?
Well, first thing I want to say is there going to be an age category for pickleball? Never mind. Okay.
You don't want me to answer that?
I too want to thank all the Lynn Haven staff members for making the sports park a great area. Thank you very much. One great thing about the sports park and Kane Griffin, it's bringing back a sense of community, something that we lost after hurricane and COVID, and we're bringing families and neighborhoods back together again, and I think that's a great opportunity for our city. I too went along with the group to Tallahassee. It was very informative. I do want to correct one idea that's going around in the community. It was publicly stated that the commissioners went there to line their pockets. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint whoever is saying that, but we went to ask for help for Lynn Haven. Every conversation we had with the senator and the representative centered around stormwater, infrastructure, making Lynn Haven better. So I just wanted to throw that out there to dispel that rumor that was going around. It was a great opportunity. They sat, they listened, and we're hoping that something productive will come from it.
All right. Thank you.
If I may, I did line my pockets because I had a lotto ticket that was over $600. So after the Capitol, I went to the lotto office and got my check. Still have it.
I guess there is some truth to some myths there. Huh? So let's make a correction that it was not the commissioners, it was Commissioner Perno that went to line his pocket. So, but no, again, it was a great time, and so thank you to the commissioners that all of us were able to go to be a Lynn Haven delegation. Because there's been, last year when I went over, I was able to make representation of Lynn Haven, but because you're going over with a different group, then you have to follow that group's priorities. So you can get your input in on what you think and what you like, but whenever we're able to sit there and talk about our priorities, what it means to us. And I think, as you mentioned, myth, there's something about some sunshine stuff, you know, all of that. So City Attorney, I don't know if you want to mention anything about that.
If you'd like me to. I mean, the bottom line is, and you guys know this, I mean, you can't have a meeting of 2 or more commissioners that's not publicly noticed if you're going to talk amongst yourself or hear each other talk about things that are foreseeably going to come before this commission, obviously. So if it's more information gathering and things like that, that's one thing. But if you're talking amongst each other about something that would foreseeably come back here, obviously that's that'd be a public meeting. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple rule, and I think you guys are all aware of it.
Yeah, from when I reviewed the sunshine law, I would classify what we did as fact finding. Because we made appropriations, and so now we have to go and come
So
out
it
the
sounds
facts.
like you guys learned about the process of how to, request appropriations and things like that.
Yeah. So so that's what I would classify it as fact finding, because we didn't discuss anything that we would vote on here. We don't vote on appropriations, and so we wouldn't vote on that. So it was more fact finding, or it was fact finding is how I would classify that, which seems to be deemed permissible according to the sunshine statute that I read. So thanks for that. All right.
And Mayor, we did not ride together.
Oh, no, we did not ride together. It would have saved me a lot of gas and time if I would have rode with you, because you got back pretty fast. I was trying to find that pizza joint you were talking about, but, I couldn't find it. So I stopped at this side of the road fried chicken place. And
Well,
and
we
got some
did try
fried
to
chicken.
talk Pat into buying us lunch with that lottery ticket money, but we decided not to, so we were following the sunshine law.
That's right. That's right. All right, but thank you guys, and I know that was a big sacrifice. That was a full day for everyone, and so thank you all for doing that. And the feedback I got from Representative Griffiths and Senator Trumbull, it meant a lot to them as well. That yes, we have good relationships here, but for us to make that extra effort to go to their place of employment where they're working hard for us every day to say, hey, we're making that extra push, certainly makes a difference, and so we'll do that. Yes,
Mind if I
sir.
add something real quick? And one of the other things I learned was, as far as appropriations, they said this year, with all the requests that have come in, it's over $2 billion more than what they typically get. So it's pretty competitive, so.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
City Manager.
Yes. Kiki, if you can go first.
Good morning. You have questions about the warrant list? Thank you.
And our stormwater update by Chris Lightfoot.
Good morning. We didn't have much of an update on our projects from last month, so we wanted to use this meeting to give just a refresher with the hurricane and rainy season coming up on how we handle the rainy season internally. So in your PowerPoint there, you'll have our stormwater response map, and this is how we break the city up during a rain event or a hurricane prep and ride the different zones. As you can see there, the green is community services, yellow is utilities, blue is facilities, and the red is public works. And we just disperse our staff out in those areas to ensure that all inlets are open, no ditches are clogged up while it's raining, and ongoing before and after the rain events. Our preparedness steps consist of our ditch maintenance, which you all know we have the contractor and our city staff working on cleaning out ditches prior to the rainy season. Our vac truck goes right behind them, opens up all the culverts and inlets to ensure they're free of any obstructions. And mowing, we're getting into the mowing season, especially now we've had some sunshine and some heat, a little bit of rain now, and that grass will take off like wildfire. So we'll be mowing a lot in the next few months to keep that under control and keep everything flowing as it should. And then lastly is our response to citizens. We try to respond to any calls and or complaints we get within the same day of getting them, or hopefully the next day, whether it be a collapsing driveway culvert or an issue with a ditch backing up or an inlet backing up. Try to get out there and assess the situation and get a work order in so that we can address anything that they have. And then here we have our fiscal year 23 maintenance map. Our ditch contractor is nearing completion on this PO for the fiscal year with ditch digging. Since you all have approved this contract last year, we have dug 93,649 feet of ditches, and that is not counting what the last invoice will have on it. We should receive that any day, and that will easily put us over 100,000 feet of ditches for the past 2 fiscal years. There's 215,000 feet of ditches in the city, and that includes the railroad ditch, which has been dug as well. It's not part of this 100,000. So we have made significant progress and dug over half of our measurable ditches in the city of Lynn Haven.
Questions?
Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
I'm sorry?
That's 18.9 miles of ditches.
Yes.
Only question I got was there anything significant that happened out of the last rainstorm? Any houses getting flooded or anything like that?
No, sir. To my knowledge, we didn't even have any calls come in from the rain event.
Okay, cool, thanks.
One question I had, a concerned citizen asked me about the Davis Lake and the drawdown process. I know the FWC required a drawdown in the winter, but do we have any, are we on some sort of schedule like the dam as far as a drawdown or opening it and closing it with storms?
So if we have an anticipated, heavy rain that we know of that's coming, we will go down and ensure everything is open or remove the grates there. We have removed that chain link fence that was holding a lot of debris back to keep that from happening anymore. But we did draw it down this winter. FWC does control that, so it'll probably be another year or two before they want to draw it down again for vegetation control. But anytime a rain event's coming, we do go ensure the spillway is free of any obstructions.
We check the obstructions ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we had that meeting of the people there, and I remember the FWC was there. I think they determined, was it every 4 or 5 years they draw it down?
Yes.
And then, but the biggest thing that wasn't being done before was after they draw it down, they weren't replenishing it with fish to keep the vegetation down. And so we worked that with FWC. We just need to make sure that they do that. So hopefully that'll work.
And about 3 of those residents, they have my cell and Bobby's cell, and they will send a text as soon as it starts raining to make sure we go by there. So we are on top of that spillway for sure.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
And they said that this winter's drawdown would be hopefully more effective because of the freeze that we had in December as far as killing vegetation.
Okay. Thank you. Just a couple other things to remind both residents and commissioners. We were a little bit behind on the pickup of debris. That's the low yard debris that many of the residents put out in front of their yards after they cleaned out their homes or around their homes. And now that we have drivers back on staff, some have been on vacation, some have been out, we'll start that schedule. And actually, we're going to start it on Saturday so that we can get all of that debris that's around and about picked up from around the houses, because we know we're definitely getting into the rainy season. So thank you that we coordinated that through our drivers and Chris, that we'll get those drivers out on Saturday and get a lot of that done, and if not all of it. Also, asphalt. We'll see, some potholes or some areas dug up because of some, utility project that had to happen. Our asphalt has been down, but we're going to get that back going and try to get all of the places that need to be patched in the next couple of weeks. And so just wanted you to know that as well. Again, everybody's talked about the grand opening, and it was really absolutely, the grand opening was pretty awesome. It was a team effort, every single staff. This is one of the things I love about the city of Lynn Haven and love about my staff, is that everyone just jumps in and gives a hand wherever is needed. And I will tell you that every single staff loves working here and loves the residents to make sure you get the best services possible. So just want to thank Justin Ward and his staff. Definitely want to thank Joe Footen, facility maintenance. That concession stand is bigger and better than before. And so it was a task. He made it happen, and it saved the city money as well. Table Talk is March 30th. Hope to see everyone Table Talk at 5:30 at the Garden Center. Also, pickleball. I just want to see you guys playing when that does come to fruition here. We just have a couple of more weeks that we need to get finished with pickleball. If you remember, we utilized some of our staff inside to save money, and so our stormwater crew has just about finished the stormwater pond. It almost looks like a lake, but done a very good job of that. So I want to give them a shout out as well. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to open up our pickleball courts. And so right now, we just need the coating and the fencing and lighting to be put out, and then we'll be ready to go with pickleball. because we have a lot of inquiries about pickleball here in the city of Lynn Haven. Just to remind you too, that there will be an indoor pickleball court in the gym as well. We will have a gym, and that entire gym sports complex that will come online probably at the end of April, if not sooner. So we're pretty excited about that. Mayor Nelson, you are right. The city is rebuilding one building at a time, and we're doing it the way it should be done, and so that it will last for years to come. And we think that's really important. And so we'll open up the gym hopefully next month. City Hall, PD will probably open up in May. We still have the library that we have final plans that are coming to us on the library, so you all can approve those. And we hope that opens up in probably 2024. We still have some infrastructure that we need to put in place here, being at senior center with parking and making sure stormwater is also in place. And so all of those things are working. We're still working with the state and FEMA on our projects and making sure that our reimbursements are coming in on time. We spend a lot of time, and that's really what it takes when you are going to get reimbursements. And it's just right now, many cities who had disasters didn't know that you need to spend so much time talking and advocating for your city through FEMA and the state. We just learned that over the years that's how you get your reimbursements. And you're not the forgotten city. So we're coming along really good with that. We're still working on the app. We're just waiting for Apple to release everything with the My Civic app or the My Lynn Haven app, and that is the app that's you'll have it on your phone, and you'll be able to look and find any information just about you want to, just through that app alone. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to express, and that's my report.
Thank you, City Manager, for those updates. City Attorney?
Nothing much really. I just going back to the warrant list, just to clarify, there's a 145,000 on there. I wasn't that busy last month. That was the Iowa Avenue parcel that you guys bought last month. I know that came up on the last parcel. I just wanted to put that out there, but otherwise nothing to report.
All right, any questions for City Attorney? All right, this time we look at our consent agenda. This will be minutes for the 2/28/23 meeting, and then also the application for Community Services Advisory Board membership for Kathy Brust. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno.
Yes, I'd like to thank Miss Kathy. I think she's here. So.
Yes, she's here. Yes.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandergriff,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Discussion, and this is for review of Chapter 2 of the International Property Maintenance Code. I know on Friday we discussed that Chapter 2 was probably the easier chapter, considering that it was just dealing with definitions. Is there any more comments on Chapter 2? What I would like to do is for us to look back at Chapter 1. I don't know if you brought your property maintenance code with you, if you have access to it through your email. And actually would like for Ms. Brust to come up and speak on this. It's 111.6, the transfer of ownership, to talk about the transfer of ownership. And so she contacted me, and probably many of you as well, about how that language could actually possibly prohibit the sale of real estate. And so that was a concern that she had with 111.6 in regards to the notification that you contacted us about. Would you like to address it at this time?
My concern with that one was if there was a violation and the violator was going to sell their home and they did not disclose the fact that there was a violation to the buyer, could they still legally, like, let's say the sale takes place, and then afterwards, is the sale actually legal if they can't lawfully sell their home? So that was my question, could the way that was worded, is that potentially a can of worms?
I don't have that section in front of me, but I mean, obviously, if it's a disclosure issue, that's obviously between the buyer and the seller.
Well, it said that they had to disclose it in writing to the buyer, and then the buyer had to provide a written statement, I guess, to the city saying they were aware of it and they would correct whatever the violation was. And then I think about, the disclosure laws that we have, and if the seller didn't know that they had to disclose it, and, the sale took place, but the way it's worded, they can't lawfully sell it without those things happening. So I didn't know how that would pertain to a sale.
I'll pull that up and look at it, because that does seem like it goes beyond. Obviously, what's going to govern is the contract between the buyer and the seller. But if there's some new code in there, I'll look at that. We may need to soften that down to match what's in the FAR/BAR contract.
Our present code is the lien process, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a lien, that's different, because that's public record. So you're always going to see those liens pop up, and that would get satisfied at closing. This sounds like it's just a heightened disclosure requirement that they're putting in there. So I'll look at that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else on on Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 from the Property Maintenance Code? All right, moving on to new business, discussion and possible approval to sign the settlement agreement and release of all claims between McQuaig Construction, Inc. and the city in the amount of $970.41, and Geisen Construction, Inc. in the amount of $9,266.04. Ms. Hodges?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here wearing my risk management hat. What we're asking is approval from the commission to approve the settlement agreement and release of all claims between McQuaig Construction and Geisen Construction. In 2019, the Florida legislature provided a provision to allow owners or their representatives to hire private providers to conduct their inspection services. At that time, we were coming up from Hurricane Michael and a lot of destruction, and at the time, the city determined that a 20% discount was valid for the private use of a private provider. McQuaig and Geisen disputed that percentage, and that led us to conduct a detailed study as provided by our insurance carriers. And we have determined, and the settlement brings, kind of writes that percentage to be 60% for residential owners and 66% for commercial going forward. At the time, these two builders had already gotten a 20% discount. Therefore, this amount is giving them the additional discount of that 40% because they were residential properties that were being, where they used private providers during this time. This percentage will go forward, and every year this study gives us a benchmark of which we can recalculate the percentage that may be provided to private providers. The statute ensures that cities don't make money in our building department. It's not an enterprise fund, that we have to balance it out, and therefore that discount can be changed from year to year. And we will post it every January so it can be made available to our citizens. I have here with us today Kaylee Platt-Reddy, who was the counsel on this case as provided by our insurance company. If you have any questions about the settlement, while we can't go into details because it pertained to a mediation agreement, we can talk about the generalities if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for council? All right, thank you. Further discussion from the commission?
Only thing I say is, just wanted the residents to realize we're not the only city that's going through this. There's a lot of cities in Florida going through this. I feel like Tallahassee put us in a predicament with the rules with private providers. yeah, it just stinks.
All right. Any commentary from the public? Mr. Walker.
Good morning. It's been an early morning. There was a question asked at the pre-meeting. I was reading this at the pre-meeting, and I must have missed something because the $9,000 was attributed to number 12, which was Al Wilson. Am I incorrect? Was Al Wilson the one with the 9,000, or was McQuaid? It was McQuaid.
It was Geisen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. The question that was mentioned at the pre-meeting was by a commissioner. He turned around and asked, did we do something wrong? I did not hear the answer.
I think I said no. You may not have heard that, but
We didn't
no,
do anything
we
wrong.
didn't do anything wrong.
Okay. This goes around with 11, 12, 13. Mr. Al Wilson had to come to a group and apologize as building inspector for the harassment that they gave to the people that were doing some work. I didn't understand his apology until he said, we were doing what we were told. So in other words, he was doing something wrong. I understand that, and we knew that. And however, I just want to make it public that Mr. Wilson apologized to a group for harassing them as the building inspector and was being told what to do. Thank you for correcting.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm a builder also. I wasn't here for this, but
Can we give your name
Tim
and
Cassell,
address?
3455 Harrison Avenue. Did we have to sue you to get the money back that we were overcharged to, or does everybody get their money back that was overcharged?
This settlement applies to Geisen and McQuaig. Do you want to follow?
So every contractor's going to have to sue y'all to get what we were
She's
overcharged to also?
She's about to respond.
There will also be a resolution that goes up to the city for approval, and if that gets passed, it would go, if you were a property owner or contractor that was a private provider and you believe you're entitled to a discount, you could ask for that.
Well, everybody was entitled to a discount, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That'll be automatic? Everybody will automatically get their money back? That they were overcharged?
If you used a private provider.
Correct.
Under the new ordinance, you could request the difference between the discount that was provided to you and to the new discount based on a specific date.
But everybody has to ask for that back, or you're automatically going to give it to them?
It has to be through a request.
Okay.
Additional public commentary? All right. Is there a
Mayor, just a clarification. I know it makes it seem like that Al Wilson is working for us now. He's not working for us. I think he worked back in 2016, 15, somewhere along in there. Right now, our building official is Charles Van Natter. Okay.
All right. Is there a motion from the commission?
Move
Go
to, move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Ward. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Pernod?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Number 12, discussion and possible approval to sign the release of all claims between George L. Wilson and the city.
Again, back as risk manager. Mr. Wilson attempted to become a party to the original claim and could not qualify. However, he was a driving force between the McQuaig and Geisen dispute. He is a private provider, therefore he benefits from the research and the settlement that you all have just passed. Therefore, our council and the insurance carriers felt that it was in the city's best interest to enter into an agreement where Mr. Wilson cannot bring any additional claims. If he acted as a private provider, those property owners may seek their additional discount, but he can't bring additional claims just to bring lawsuits relating to the same exact issues. Again, Kayla, have I represented that properly? I got a thumbs up from the attorney. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Hodges or for council? All right, commentary from the public. Is there a motion from the commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandergriff,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. 13, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 2023-03-404, amending Resolution 2020-02-311, amending Chapter 14 of the fee schedule in Appendix A of the City of Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances and providing for an effective date. City Attorney.
Want to read the title?
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Resolution 2019-11-306, establishing a fee schedule for permits issued by the Building Department for using a private provider as defined pursuant to Chapter 553.791 Florida statutes and providing for an effective date.
Right, and this just follows the settlement agreements you just approved. This would be the official resolution of the city putting that new negotiated discount into place, like we talked about, 60% for residential and 66% for commercial.
All right. Any questions for the City Attorney?
Not for the attorney.
Who's your question for?
Well, the question I have, I think Ms. Hodges brought it up, was we get to review this every January to make sure that these discounts are correct, so that, I guess my worry is if we discount it too much, then the city is going to be taking a loss, and then that means people that are not using private providers will have to make up for the difference, and that's the last thing I want to happen. So.
As a comment, the statute 553.80 gives pretty direct instructions on what can be considered direct cost and indirect costs that the city can use in determining that discount. And again, that department is not to be a moneymaker.
Right.
It's supposed to be even. Right now, the city is still in a deficit. We're still trying to come out and still spending more, but we have to follow a pretty stringent statutory direction on how we come up with the discount and how we can modify that discount each year.
So if we determine this discount is too much, we can look at it in January and say it needs to be decreased.
It could be changed, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
We have to post it and do the review, and actually the study that we have conducted gives us that benchmark from which to move forward.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any additional questions? All right. Comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Johnny Bashir, 811 Louisiana. I just did want to, some people don't understand the permitting process. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware these discounts are for the permits and do not affect the impact fees. The impact fees are not going to be discounted by this resolution. I just wanted to make that clear to people that might not understand the difference between impact fees and permit fees. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Additional public commentary? All right, is there a motion from the commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Vandergrift. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandergriff,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Number 14, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 2023-03-405, amending Resolution 2019-11-306, establishing a fee schedule for permits issued by the Building Department for using a private provider as defined pursuant to Chapter 553.791.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Resolution 2020-02-311, amending Chapter 14 of the fee schedule in Appendix A of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, and this is the second resolution stemming from the settlement agreement you just approved, and it simply puts a $75 administrative fee, which will be applied to every permit, whether it's a private provider or not. So it's just across the board for permits. There'll be a $75 fee.
All right, any questions for the city attorney? Any discussion from the public? Is there a motion from the commission?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Perno. City manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes. Mayor
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Number 15, discussion and possible approval of development order parcel number 11605-000-000 Express Car Wash.
Good
morning. Good morning. Are there any questions for Ms. Amanda?
I'm going to give a presentation as soon as it comes up on the screen. Here we are. So this is a development order application for an express car wash. The owner, F&P Capital Investments 2 LLC. The agent, McNeil Carroll Engineering, and Sean McNeil is here today if you have any questions for him. Parcel number 11605-000-000 and is located at 1801 Highway 77, which is just south of what was the old Club Sun building on Highway 77. And that Club Sun property, as you know, is supposed to be Diego's at some point. The parcel size is 2.17 acres approximately, and the land use is commercial. It's currently vacant. There were a couple of homes on the site prior to them taking the homes down, changing the land use on it to the commercial land use. Project engineer was Robert Carroll. The reviewing engineer, Chris Short from Dewberry, who's also here today. And what they wish to develop is a car wash with vacuum stalls, parking, landscaping, and infrastructure improvements. This shows the location in the red here. This was the Club Sun property. And this was 2 parcels, but was amalgamated into 1 parcel. It does have a commercial land use, which allows for car washes. The site plan is here, and this was in your packet, as was the landscaping plan and the renderings of how the car wash will look. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Amanda?
They've been moving dirt around on that property for quite a while. Was that part of tearing down the homes?
They had a permit to tear down the homes. They weren't supposed to be bringing any fill or moving anything around. And when we found out they were, we did tell their engineers, and their engineers stopped them.
All right. Any additional questions for Ms. Amanda? And looking back over the notes, I noticed there was a question regarding stormwater, if there would be any stormwater tied in to, like, how would that discharge from the car wash?
There was a question at the Planning Commission meeting. Oh yeah, the Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommended approval. There was a question regarding the dirty water that comes from the car wash, as to where that will go. Will it go into the ditch, or what will happen to it? And I believe, and like I said, the engineers are here so that they can confirm, but they will be separate. Like, the ways that they are dealt with are separate, so that dirty water is not going to be discharged into a ditch.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for the representatives? All right. Any comments from the public? Is there a motion or further discussion from the commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Aldridge. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. All right. First reading of ordinance 1148, small scale future land use map amendment, City of Lynn Haven, parcel number 11530-030-000, 17th Street, low density residential to public institutional.
Ordinance 1148, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida Statutes of a land use change from low-density residential to public institutional for approximate 25 plus minus acres of property located on 17th Street in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
All right. Any discussion from the commission on this? Any comments from the public? All right, number 17, first reading of ordinance 1149, small scale future land use map amendment, Arc of the Bay, parcel number 11518-05015-000, Willow Hill Road, Bay County Residential, City of Lynn Haven, low density residential.
Ordinance number 1149, an ordinance providing for adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida Statutes of Land Use Change from Bay County Residential to the City of Lynn Haven Low Density Residential for an approximate 0.853 plus minus acres of property located on Willow Hill Road in the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Any discussion from the commission? Comments from the public? Number 18, first reading of ordinance 1150, small scale future land use map amendment, Parsons parcel 09167-000-000, 404 Florida Avenue, low density residential to mixed use.
Ordinance 1150, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida Statutes of a land use change from low-density residential to mixed use for an approximate 0.774 plus minus acres of property located on the corner of West 4th Street and Florida Avenue in the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing for an effective date.
Any discussion from the commission? Any comments from the public? Mr. Walker?
One comment. Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. According to rules, and we've been told, the first reading gets no comments. And I noticed the planning lady left. Are we changing that rule? Can we comment to the first reading?
I'm feeling like it today. All right, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, just for today.
You got one coming up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to look at.
Yeah, not a problem. So, and part of it, we have reviewed that, and where that rule comes from is that technically there doesn't have to be any comment unless we're voting on an issue, but we don't want to not necessarily hear from the public until the second reading. So it depends. So today I'm feeling like we can take a few comments today.
We'll get you at the next time.
Right. All right, additional comments?
Stan Kirkland, I live at 312 Florida Avenue, and my home is 2 houses down from this property. I too didn't know that we were going to get a chance to comment today, and I don't want to overstep my bounds, but that this property is presently low density. This is a residential neighborhood, and I, for one, would hate to see as your planning commission told me, you have to prepare, if this is changed, you have to prepare for a worst case scenario. And so I would hate to see something other than a residential home go back in this area. Okay, thank you. Can I add one other thing too? You mentioned Tyndall Air Force Base. Originally, it was known as Tyndall Field, and you commented, Mayor, Clark Gable, the famous actor, was assigned to Tyndall Field back in World War II. He did gunnery practice and actually lived in Lynn Haven, just east of the First Baptist Church. I don't remember the exact street. Somebody may know that.
Indiana Avenue.
Indiana, okay. Well, we got a historian here. Thank you.
I just
Thank
live next
you.
to the house.
Oh, you live next to the house, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's cool.
You should buy it and fix it up, man, and let people come
Somebody's
visit it.
trying to do that already.
All right, additional public comment on this ordinance? All right, thank you. Number 19, first reading of ordinance 1151, amending section 6.05.09, Unified Land Development Code, layout of transportation facilities for parking surface.
Ordinance number 1151, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending section 6.05.09, layout of transportation facilities of the City of Lynn Haven Unified Land Development Code, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for an immediately effective date.
All right, any discussion from the commission on this? Comments from the public? All right. Yes, sir. This is the one you want to talk about, okay.
Thank you. Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I read about this in the paper, and according to what I read, it's already been signed. Is that correct? Between Bay County and you?
No, they've signed their portion.
They signed their portion.
Right. So so what has happened, we've discussed it. City attorney has brought it to us a few meetings ago. We discussed it, but they approved theirs first, and now we're having to approve it on our end.
Caught me off guard there, saying you didn't even bring it in front of the people. One of the things is, if you go back in history a little bit about our service area and everything, it extends quite a distance. And what you're looking at here is opening up the possibility of annexation. When it was done before, the first shot was at Southport. And if you ever want to see a rebellion, you almost had the Civil War. Got to be careful. They tried to do something, the previous administration, which was really bad, and they lost. And yes, it has to be consensual annexation. Can't be like the previous administration where they went round and round and almost forced them to do it. So with this takes into our infrastructure, into the service area, all around. New people, new houses, new infrastructure. So keep in mind that when you go into this annexation bit. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. First reading of ordinance 1152, adopting an interlocal service boundary agreement with Bay County, Florida, establishes a municipal service area and governs annexations, road ownership, and the provision of utilities and public services.
Ordinance number 1152, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, adopting an interlocal service boundary agreement with Bay County, Florida, that establishes the municipal service area and governs annexation, roads ownership, and the provision of utilities and public safety services, providing for applicability, severability, and effective date.
Any additional comments from the commission? Comments from the public?
I think this is the one that Mr. Walker just talked about. I think we need to go back and read item 19.
Missed item 19.
We got out of order there.
We went to 20 from 18.
Just, okay. But just follow up on this one. It's first reading, and I think it's best shown by the map, where you see the areas in pink are what would be allowed to be voluntarily annexed in, even if they create an enclave. And we can advertise that and bring it back in 2 weeks, and the county did already approve this one.
Can you read 19?
Thought I just read
Yeah,
19.
we read 19. Yeah.
I did.
19?
I thought I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I must have checked out.
Yeah. But you're correct. It is voluntary. We made that perfectly clear.
All right, number 21, discussion and possible approval to award the contract for RFP number 22-23-7 2023-03 for annual lawn care and chemical services for the sports complex and Ken Griffin baseball fields and the Highway 77 medians to Rotolo Consultants, Inc. in the amount of $108,558.83.
Good morning, Commissioners. The RFP was submitted, and we had 5 that actually submitted bid packages. Those bid packages were sent over to our selection committee, which 2 of those were considered non-responsive. Based on their criteria, they recommend Rotolo Consultants be awarded the contract.
Any questions for Parks and Rec?
The only question I had was looking at the ranking sheets. It shows a base amount and then an added after amount. What's the added after amount?
When we originally put this out, not because the prices have been through the roof on everything these days, what we wanted to do is make sure the fields themselves at the sports complex were taken care of by a professional landscaper. The add-alt was the area surrounding those fields, anything outside the fence to take care of the rest of the park. And they came in better than what we expected. So that was the add-alt. And I'm sorry.
So the bid's just the base then?
The base bid was for Ken Griffin Fields, the baseball fields at the sports complex, and the medians on Highway 77. The add-alt was for the area of the sports complex on the exterior of the playing fields.
Right, and the bid for this, the $108,000 to Rotolo,
It's included
is for
all
the
of
base.
it. That is correct, including the add-alt.
Oh, it is including that?
It's my understanding it is.
Is it has a different total on the bid sheets, on ranking sheets.
Okay.
Yeah, it showed 108,000 for the base, and added altar was another 45,000.
Okay, that's a mistake on our part then, when it was put together.
So is it actually 153,000?
Based on those numbers, what I'd like to do is,
One of the things that we did, we wanted to do the base bid of $108,000. We wanted to see the prices, and at any time we can come back to the commission and ask you to accept the added alternate, or you can adopt that right now. But we wanted to see what the prices were. So the bid itself is $108,000.
So it's just for the base?
Yes.
Okay.
The base bid.
All right. Got it.
So there was another one that was lower. Did that include everything, or were they disqualified?
It was lower. We have a selection criteria, or excuse me, a selection committee that was made up of 3 directors that actually graded each of the submissions equally, and those are the grades they came up with, and that's how it was graded.
All right, additional questions for Mr. Ferris? All right, thank you. All right, comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. My name is Kimberly Powell. I'm the owner of Legendary Lawn Maintenance that's with this, in this situation, undoubtedly. But with that being said, I was at the opening whenever they opened the bids, and if you'll look at the paper you have in front of you that shows RCI, it says not bound. Well, the very first thing that you ask for in yours is on like 2.1 proposal format and content is that spiral bound, soft covered, presentation binder, or stapled, and that, so therefore that should make that non-responsive right off the cuff. But because it did not, you keep going down further, and it wasn't tabbed in that same aspect. So now we're at the point where I have other concerns because that wasn't covered at that point. And those are that no one in this process has called any of my references. So why did I give them? I mean, I sent 5. I don't know if you called others, but you didn't call any of mine. I checked with them yesterday. And also with that, in that consideration, we've had a contract with y'all for 3 years with the cemetery. We've not had any complaints and any problems whatsoever. With that also being said, we also completely deal with Mr. Ferris, which I just have seen a couple of times, but just realized who he was standing here. RCI has done the medians for the past 2 years. Are there complaints? Have y'all checked with y'all's records in that aspect that you had complaints with them? Because it's my understanding you've had to call them a couple of times, tell them, hey, are you going to mow this? So you're going to continue to give them something that you've already had complaints about with what little they have had? And then we go on, I can keep going, I mean, in the aspect of situations. With that being said, all I'm asking today is that you don't vote on it, that you table this, you look at the broad picture of everything you've got in front of you, maybe call some of the references, maybe check with your own people and see actually what you're doing today.
So what's the company again that you're with?
I'm with Legendary Lawn Maintenance.
Okay, so that's one of the bids that's in here. Okay.
Thank you. Additional public comments? All right, is there further discussion from the commission?
Based on what I'm looking at, these totals on the last bid sheet, the Legendary Lawn Maintenance totals are 127,260 for both, which is lower than 153,892 from Rotello. And then the other one is Lawnscapes, which totals 208. Of the ones I'm looking at in the final ranking sheets.
And we're only bidding on the base.
The base is lower.
Right, and you're right, that is lower too, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the base is at 100. With this woman speaking, I see a valid point in tabling this. So I make a motion that we table this.
All right, City Manager.
Okay, I would like to give you some additional information. When these come in, we do give them to people who have no dealings with any of the contractors at all. I think one of the things that the folks who grade these look at, will they be able to maintain and handle what we're asking? Highway 77 is huge. All the ballparks are huge. The main concern with Legendary is that they did not have enough staff to be able to handle this part of it. I have no dog in the fight, and that's one of the reasons I stay completely out of it until it's brought here. But I will tell you there were some concerns with when these folks graded them. I think Fire Chief graded, he's pretty detailed in many things that he does, and two others. So this is an RFP. Just remember, RFP goes by price and performance.
Right.
If it was an RFQ, then we could do on performance and what they do, but RFP is price and performance. So you could have someone who has a lower bid, but not able to really do the performance on that, or vice versa. Just wanted to give you that information.
We have a motion on the floor to. All right, so there's a motion to table, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Vandegrift. Is there further discussion from the commission?
So if I understand it right, Legendary Lawn currently does our cemetery.
They have the cemetery.
Have we had any problems with them?
No.
Do we ever use RCI, or was that RCI?
RCI got the contract through the grant through on the medium for Highway 77.
Okay.
Yes.
Have we had any problems with them?
There were times that we had to call RCI to come out and redo some things, or come back and recut some things. Because it was a grant, we could utilize them. That was not money out of our pockets per se. That was a grant that was by FDOT in that sense. But now this is, of course, city money that we're looking at here.
And the question I have for the city attorney is, are we allowed to talk with the businesses if they come talk to us about the bid?
No.
Or no? If we
Not
table
during
it?
Like the bidding and selection process. I mean, so there's not been a decision been made, so.
If this ends up getting tabled,
Today we can.
if this ends up getting tabled, am I allowed to talk to the young lady that came up here and spoke about this?
Well, because because it's been tabled, there hasn't been a decision made on the bid, so it would have to be done. What
And
you do is
open?
ask for presentations at the next meeting or whatever.
Okay.
So everybody can hear it.
All right, thanks.
And Mayor, could we also think about, I know there's a motion on the floor, if maybe even putting this back out to bid.
How many employees do you have, ma'am? Right now, 7. How many does the other company have, do we know?
Massive. I don't know, do you?
And you don't have to answer that question, that doesn't matter. The point I'm making, I guess, is I've actually just recently encountered someone, and I'm not throwing a rock at you, okay, I'm not, a person that's had a lawn care company, and they went out after a subdivision, and they were all excited because they got the bid because they were lower, and then when they got in the subdivision, they realized, I can't do this. I've got 4 people, and this subdivision is 50 acres. Of trimming, grass and trees. So, I mean, it is a legitimate point taken. You've done well with the cemetery, so you guys, I'm not saying anything. So you feel like, you feel like your company could do this, that they could handle all of this, or are you looking at hiring more people once the money starts coming in?
If you could come to the microphone, please.
We don't want to outgrow ourselves in that aspect, by no means, shape, form, or fashion. We already know that if we do get this or others, that we would hire people. We already know that we have 10 people that are part-time, that are ready to come at any time. Mm-hmm. With that being said, though, we don't tell them they have a job other than part-time until we know we have guaranteed work.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So that's not an issue in that aspect.
And you have the equipment to bring on those
Yes,
other 10 people?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And if not, we can purchase. That's not an issue either.
Okay.
I mean, but yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to table this for further discussion. Also, suggestion from city manager for us to consider putting this out for rebid. So right now, motion on the floor is to table by Commissioner Purno.
Well, can we discuss the rebid? I mean, that throws a whole nother monkey wrench into this.
You
So
have to remove your motion.
what's the cost or the of rebidding?
It would just be us re-advertising it again. It would slow us down because, as we know, we are in spring season.
Right, a rebid would take way more time than to table this to the next meeting, wouldn't it?
When you rebid something of this nature, you can put it out for 14 days. Then it's a grading process again. Then we bring it back before you. So it's about the same distance.
Do we know if anybody from RCI is here?
So we're just looking at $25,000. That's.
And we don't know with the rebidding if it's going to come back at this price again.
That's our other problem right now.
So, right now, we're committed to, or those companies are committed to these prices. But if it's rebid, and I've seen it when we rebid some things, that it usually comes back at a higher price point than what we've, and this is within our budget and what we're hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can table it and discuss it at our next pre-commission meeting, and then bring it back at our commission meeting at that point, to give everyone an opportunity to get with city manager, staff, ask additional questions, get more clarification on what those concerns are. And I guess the question still comes back to city attorney, just for our clarification, as if this is tabled during this time of tabling, are we able to, I think you said
I would prefer if you want to hear from them, ask them to come to either the workshop or the
That's
meeting
what I was going to
on the
suggest,
28th.
that we do a presentation. We have these folks do a presentation before the city commission.
Ask the top 3 to come back.
Well, I mean, as far as staff and things, because
You can talk
everybody,
to staff, for sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. City manager, if you call the vote.
I forgot who did it.
Commissioner Purno and then Commissioner Vandegrift.
Commissioner Purno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
No.
Commissioner Ward?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Number 22, discussion and possible approval to award the contract for RFQ number 22-23-08 for engineering and design services for the West 10th Street Utility Improvements Project to DeBerry under CBDG-DR grant funding received from the Department of Economic Opportunity.
So as we discussed Friday, we put out an RFQ for engineering services for a CDBG grant to rehab 9,300 feet of clay gravity sewer, replace 14,000 feet of water line with new 6-inch PVC water line, add 15 stormwater inlets with 18-inch and 24-inch RCP, and rehab 2.4 miles of roadway on West 10th Street. This will also affect stormwater drainage on the 1,000 blocks of Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, and New York avenues. RFQs were received from 3 respective firms: Dewberry, Panhandle Engineering, and Baskerville Donovan. Again, a ranking team scored these proposals in the same order that I just mentioned, and staff recommends to award to Dewberry Engineering.
All right, questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
And again, this is a $5.25 million grant with $650,000 allocated for the engineering portion.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Lightfoot? Comments from the public? All right, is there a motion from the commission?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Ward. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Meeting adjourned.